In this video, we'll explain the advantages of open and closed feed water heaters. So feed water heaters allow us to do a process called regeneration. Regeneration is where steam is extracted from an intermediate stage of a turbine and used to preheat feed water before entering the steam generator. We do this so that we don't have to heat the fluid up as much in the steam generator, so we already start at a higher heat. So there are two types of feed waters that will allow us to do this regeneration. Those feed waters are needed because they're the exchangers that preheat that feed water. So the first type we have is a open feed water heater, and the other type is a closed feed water heater. And we're going to go into some detail about both of these. So the open feed water heater is one where there's direct contact heat exchanger, so that the fluids are being mixed up. So if we look at a diagram here, we see that fluid coming from our high pressure turbine is going to come over here to the open feed water heater, and then fluid from this pump is going to come up as well, and they're going to mix together and then come out at stage 3 and go into, or state 3 and go into this other pump. So we have complete mixing going on. So the key here is that the steam from the turbine is going to mix with the water from the pump. Now, what are the benefits of doing an open feed water heater? Well, one of the key benefits is that it's over the closed feed water is that it's simple and inexpensive. It's a very simple system to put together. But a big benefit beyond just heating it up and possibly improving your efficiency is going to be that it de-aerates the water. So what we mean by that is it's going to remove unwanted gases, O2 and CO2, those kind of things that can get mixed up in your flow as things churn around. And the reason it's going to be able to get rid of it is because we're going to have this is going to come in here at higher than atmospheric pressure, and so you have these means for the excess gases to just flow out of the system before we continue on through up to the second pump. Now, one of the main costs of here is, as you can kind of see from the diagram, we've got an additional pump. So we have a pump here and another pump. So you have to have two pumps. Why do we have to have two pumps? Well, because if you think about it, you want the flow to pressure at point 6 and point 2 to be the same. So it's going to come out of here at this high pressure turbine at still a higher pressure. It's going to have some pressure coming out of it, more so than if it had come out of the low pressure turbine and gone through the condenser. Well, so if pressure 6 were greater than the pressure at state 2, then when it got into this open feed water here, it would start to go backflow into state 2 and start going the other direction. So we want to make sure it only goes into the direction of 3. So I have to make sure that pressure 2 and 6 are both at the same pressure, so that when they come together, they go out at state 3. That's why you have to have a second pump. So closed feed water heater is one where there's indirect contact heat exchanger. So we're still changing heat, but we're not actually mixing the fluids together. So if you see this in a diagram, we can see that we have one flow from 2 to 3 going by, another flow 5 to 6 going by, but they never actually touch. Okay, and you see this a lot of times. Closed feed water heaters are often used in steam plants when they're trying to heat your actual water that you're going to use, because you're not going to, the water that you would come out of your shower or your sink is not going to be the water that went through the steam plant. You're not going to have that mixed in because it's gone through all those pipes and it's gone through the turbines and stuff. But what you're going to do is that heated water is going to run next to a pipe that would go to heat the water you would use in your building. That's kind of how a closed system feed water heater heat exchanger would work. In this case, we're talking about a feed water heater, so it's the purpose of this heat exchanger is to heat the fluid before it goes in the steam generator. So the steam comes from the turbine and travels in a separate line. Still coming from the turbine, but travels a separate line to heat the water from the pump. Now, the main benefit of this over the open is that it's flowing. The flow that goes through it doesn't actually mix, so they can have different pressures. We don't have to have a second pump installed. However, we do have this issue where the flow coming out of the closed feed water heater, it's going to have to go into the condenser. And you're going to have the same issue with the condenser in that you need these to be at the same pressure before it goes to the pump, or else we get backflow. So we have this thing called a steam trap, which we'll explain further in a different video. And the steam trap is going to allow us to lower that pressure. So the cost is that we have to add this steam trap to lower the pressure before it mixes in the condenser.